Oil is a substance that is obtained through the processing of petroleum, which is a naturally occurring liquid found in formations in the earth consisting of a complex mixture of hydrocarbons. This crude oil is dug up from the ground by large oil drills and then is processed in facilities to remove waste, toxins, or other harmful materials in order to produce oil. After being processed, the oil is shipped to consumers to be used for heating homes, creating electricity, or powering motor vehicles. It also can be used to create things such as ethane, jet fuel, asphalt, and many different types of waxes. The modern history of petroleum began in 1846 with the discovery of the process of refining kerosene from coal. The first commercial oil well drilled in North America was in Ontario, Canada in 1858, which produced nearly 25 barrels of oil a day. During the 1800s, the petroleum industry grew slow, only having demand for the product to produce kerosene and lamp oil. But as internal combustion engines were created, a much larger demand came about. From 1815 to 1906, oil production had increased nearly 63,000%. Significant oil fields had been discovered in Canada, much of the Middle East, Venezuela, and Mexico. Until the mid-1950s, coal was still the world's foremost fuel, but oil quickly took over. Today, about 90% of vehicular fuel needs are met by oil. Petroleum also makes up 40% of total energy consumption in the United States. People all across the world have come accustomed to using petroleum every day in their lives without realizing the extreme importance of it. Oil helps people live lives as they do easily today, by heating their homes, transporting them, and creating many things such as roads and household materials. The United States is the biggest consumer of petroleum in the world, using nearly 20 million barrels a day, which is 25% of the world average. China comes in second in consumption, but uses almost 3 times less oil than the US does on a daily basis, with only 7 million barrels a day. While they are the largest consumers of oil, the United States only produces 12% of the world's oil, which is not enough to provide for themselves, so they must import more oil. Importing is hard for the United States because of political circumstances, and this commonly leads to higher consumer gas prices due to limited selection. Oil dependency is evident in the United States as gas prices have nearly risen to more than $3 per gallon on average, and people continue to buy it as they always have. This is mainly because people have become so used to using the oil that living without it is a very irrational thought. Two negative things about petroleum are that it creates harmful gases when burned, and that it is no longer abundant. It is a non-renewable resource. We no longer have the large petroleum reserves we once had, and as time goes on, we build a greater demand for petroleum, but are simply running out of places to obtain it from. We now have to drill from older oil fields in hope of finding more oil within them, in hopes of still making a profit. If digging the oil up costs more than what they sell it for, then it becomes useless. Many people believe we will never run out of petroleum, but eventually there will not be enough to provide consumers. To fix this, there are other alternative energies being created and new ways of powering cars and creating electricity, with things such as hydrogen power. Talks of having cars run off hydrogen means that there is less pollution and an abundant amount of energy to run the cars off of and produce electricity. We have not fully reached that level, but one alternative energy that is being put to use today is that of ethanol. But as good as it sounds, it also comes with its share of problems. Here is a small clip to show you some of the side effects of ethanol production.
As ethanol production has risen this year, so has the price of corn, the primary grain used today to produce ethanol. That has many people blaming ethanol for the rise in food prices.
A box of cornflakes is going to have a nickel's worth of corn. What impacts consumer food prices far more than the price of corn is the energy, the marketing, the packaging, everything else that goes into bringing that box of cornflakes to the grocery stores. analyses that we have done shows that price of gasoline has more than twice the impact on consumer food prices than does the price of grain.
A bushel of number 2 yellow corn cost nearly twice as much as it did in 2005. Yet in a Bureau of Labor Statistics sample of grocery items that include corn as a direct or indirect production element, the aggregate increase in price has been 3.4%, just 0.5% over the 25-year average for food inflation. All automobiles manufactured today are capable of running on fuel that is 10% ethanol and 90% gasoline. In addition, there are 6 million flex fuel vehicles on the road. Built primarily by Ford, Chrysler, and GM, flex fuel vehicles can run on up to 85% ethanol.
As you can see, we are close to obtaining new alternative fuels to replace our petroleum dependency. But if we do not implement these fast enough, the United States, along with other petroleum-consuming countries, could find themselves in serious trouble and without a fuel source to power what we need most.